So I'm working as a student assistant at the international office in Tel Ilmenau. So we have this organization called V4U. It's basically like we give some consultation, some support to the international students. And this is like the consultation part, and we also have like the fun part when we organize some excursion activities to integrate, to let the students, international students, integrate into the uni life in Ilmenau.
Ich bin schon in meiner dritten Firma hier in Deutschland. Ich habe, als gesagt, als Praktikantin angefangen. Dann habe ich eine andere Stelle in Erfurt gefunden. Und die Firma, die ich jetzt arbeite, sie haben mich am LinkedIn gefunden. So, ich arbeite jetzt als Prozessingenieur in einem Werk in Gotha. Und dort arbeite ich mehr mit Maschinen, aber immer mit Leuten. Und ja, das mache ich das.
Okay, so the application phase was pretty easy, like because the people at international office, they are really kind and nice and chill. So I only wrote my motivation letter and also submitted my resume, and yeah, wait for the news.
Meistens sollte man mit Lebenslauf kommen und vielleicht auch mit einem Motivationsschreiben, warum man den Job machen will und warum man genommen werden sollte. Aber bei Nebenjobs ist es eigentlich sehr leger. Also die 2 Sachen sollte man mitbringen und dann ist meistens ein Bewerbungsgespräch. Da sollte man persönlich noch ein bisschen überzeugen und dann natürlich immer sehr offen sein und ambitioniert und aktiv.
Also wenn man sich um einen Nebenjob bewirbt, ist es natürlich alles etwas lockerer. Da braucht man in der Regel nur ein Anschreiben und einen tabellarischen Lebenslauf, gegebenenfalls auch Zeugnisse. Bei einem richtigen Beruf, bei einem Job, also wenn man sich um einen Job bewirbt, dann ist es so, dass man halt schauen muss, in welchem Rahmen bewirbt man sich, bei was für einem Unternehmen. Da gelten auch immer unterschiedliche Konventionen.
Well, this really depends on the job, on the kind of job. In the university itself, where you have these student assistant jobs, it can be that the professor gets to know you by just having a good work in the lecture, something like that, and asks you, we could imagine there's a small project, we need support from students, do you like to join? Then of course you might need to hand in your CV, but then more or less you won. And you have the job if you say okay and the speaking with the professor is okay. If this not works that way and you are looking for a job and you apply for a job, so then there are job offers and then you are not the only one who's in looking for that job, then of course you need a good CV just describing your experience, your way through school and university. If the content doesn't matter to you, you're only looking for a job to earn money. If this is the feeling the company gets, then the chances, of course, are not so good. Yeah. So you need to convince the company from that you are the really good and best person to get the job. But this might be more difficult outside the university as inside the university. It might be more difficult if you like to have an just higher skilled job where you are part of a research topic, e.g. where you take responsibility for what you're doing, and it might be easier just if it is any odd job, just with a time job company. That means you are registered at the company and the company checks different companies out to do here just 2 days work or just in another company 2 days of work. Then your general skills, CV and the tax ID is enough to get the job. So it depends.
Für die Unterlagen, ich denke, dass das Wichtigste ist die Recommendation Letters. Diese sind super hilfreich für eine gute Stelle zu finden.
So when you apply to a job in Germany, it's expected that you need to send everything that you have. So school certificates, your vocational skills certificate, your language skills certificates, and many people don't give them. So when they apply, they don't send those things.
Yeah, and basically the standard, German standard of CV and cover letter is quite old school. So it's still the table form. So it's still in chronological order, and they still want to know all your personal information, like even where you're from. Also, the way your documents are put together, the way the layout look like, it's also making a first impression on your about you, about your skills, about your maybe also technical skills, how good you can deal and present information about yourself, and of course all certificates. So in quite bureaucratic countries, certificates matter. So also your maybe qualification, small training course, short summer or winter schools, everything will be interested for your potential employee if it's fit to their profession. So it doesn't mean that you should gather all your entire life certificates and put them in your CV or in application portfolio. Just always focus on the required position. But even small, I don't know, translation services, or maybe you made a special certificate in the IT sphere just for you as a hobby. It could have a big impact when it comes to professional skills.
Das ist abhängig, wer dir das Interview macht mit dir. Weil manchmal hast du Platz, mehr deine Erfahrungen zu geben, ansonsten go with the flow. Aber mehr, wenn du Kenntnis hast, das wird nicht so schwer.
I guess it depends on the company. In our consultant work, we always say it is about organizational culture. It's such a word. It basically means how the company functions. And of course, it depends also on the person who interviews you during your job interview. And some interviews are in very more or less relaxed atmosphere, and you can be yourself and present yourself, be authentic and be relaxed. In some companies, for instance, like a financial services, banks, or consultancies for business consultants, you of course must be more official also when it comes to how business close, and the language is also different, so you are more official asked, and it depends on also on the sphere, on the job you are applying.
Am besten schaut man sich an, was es für eine Firma ist. Man guckt erstmal, ist es eher eine traditionell orientierte Firma, ist es ein Start-up, ist es eine Bank oder eine Versicherung. Da hat man natürlich andere Konventionen, auch andere Kleidervorschriften sozusagen, auch andere Umgangsformen. Da muss man individuell entscheiden. Deswegen ist es schwer, das so pauschal jetzt zu beantworten. Ja, also im Grunde muss man sich entsprechend anziehen, also wirklich auch Casual Business oder eben Business-Kleidung, eben das, was man auch anziehen würde, wenn man dort zur Arbeit erscheinen würde, sagt man immer so. Und ja, möglichst höflich auftreten, möglichst denjenigen in die Augen schauen und Interesse zeigen und auch die richtigen Fragen stellen, sich vorher natürlich informieren über das Unternehmen. Und dann vor Ort kommt man ja dann ins Gespräch und wird dann gefragt nach dem eigenen Lebenslauf und der Motivation, warum man dort arbeiten möchte. muss das natürlich vorher überlegen, wie man das entsprechend begründen möchte und warum man dort arbeiten möchte. Das ist halt Teil der Vorbereitung.
Yeah, like your background. Why are you interested in take part of the team? And also, what are your plans? And when you can start, of course. And if you already know how to do, I don't know, the normal activities in this position.
In the general questions are short introduction. So the company, let's say, HR manager wants to get to know you better. And this is always the tricky question. Tell me about yourself. And why it's tricky? Because you should be short. You should not tell about yourself for hours. It must be short and precise information, but also this question is not only about yourself as a person, but also about you as a potential employer. So this is the trick to find this, or the art, how to say, this is the perfect interview or perfect response on this question is when it balances between your personal and professional skills, and when you already can introduce yourself through the perspective of which experience, which skills I already gained during my study, during my maybe conferences, during volunteering work, during my internship, during my life also, because during your life you participate in different groups, projects, associations, and it's all part of you, and it also brings you further professionally.